as I got the idea for K9s for Kids, it was after Newtown, and I thought to myself, I have somebody from the CIA, the Secret Service, psychiatrist sit on my board. FBI did a whole story, a whole presentation, and talked about how K9s4cops and K9s4kids were their number one, that they felt like if that was in a school, much better. You could do the government. We didn't even know they came out with it. It just Google. And but to know that in Newtown, that was a predominantly high education. Right. It's kind of like Austin and Westland. That everybody's educated and they got money. And yes, but the public schools were just as good. Such a small town, but everybody knew everyone. They felt comfortable. And then they would take that train into the town twice a week, whatever it was. But they knew that their kids were safe because it was that neighborhood everybody knew. Right. Well, if it can happen in Newtown, it can happen anywhere. At Texas A&M. It could happen at UT. It could happen at Barbara Bush Elementary. It can happen anywhere.
The really sad part is now, because it happens so frequently, there's a certain numbness to it. That unless it happens in a school where you have a child or whatever, you're not really paying attention anymore because there's so many other things grabbing your attention when you turn on the news.
And the fact that it's part of a child's routine now and a teacher's of how to be proactive in case something like this does happen or any sort of challenge in school. I mean, obviously the violence is off the charts now, but these are all things that we all have to be concerned about. We all have to be aware of.
The Lineage gave some dogs down in South Texas as therapy dogs for after these things happen. But Uvalde, that guy coming in, they show that basically if they know that cops are rushing up on the place, these guys, it's like the guy that shot Trump or the guy that went in Uvalde, they're not old enough to do all the recon I think they need to do. How would it look walking in with a rangefinder? How would it look doing this? But the fact that they never pulled the door open, they never did. But when they got it open, look, I don't want a dog to die. But you could have sent that dog in. And he could have taken him down.
Right. That's true.
How do you partner with people and vet the dogs to get into the program?
My vendors. So they're all bonded, insured. I have one vendor that has been into in California that has been, personal protection canines since 1960.
Oh gosh. Wow.
So they're kind of
That's the real deal.
They supply the dog that Osama bin Laden.
Okay.
And, one of the highest ranking guys in SWAT in Houston, and some of the oldest professional working law enforcement agents in Houston are some of the people who volunteer their time for Kristi's nonprofit. So then they, on the back end, go in, and anybody who submits a grant request, they vet that department to make sure that they have what they need to be granted.
And nothing nefarious in their background.
Right, of course.
Their last one, did it die of natural causes or was it left in neglected?
Sure.
I mean, so I have so many, my wonderful Fab Four, I call them, that they step up and say, let me talk to the other cops because or the command of the chief.
And the other thing
That's
is
so great.
Realizing what law enforcement, what tools and capabilities they have and the time restraints that they have. They don't have the time to keep up with the statistics because Kristi grants these dogs with the stipulation, you have to report your stats to us. She now has access to the database that these 350 dogs have acquired in their working career in those agencies. Otherwise, wouldn't have in a collective database.
Wow.
So you'd think that would make a difference when going to the Capitol and saying, look at what we've taken $8 billion in drugs off the street. Why don't you help us?
Yeah.
It should be helping us. But that's only a message that we get to spread to, average everyday citizens.
Right.
Nobody else takes it seriously.
Right. Well, average everyday citizens need to know about those.
Now,
and to be able to support it as
Congressman McCaul has been wonderful. And actually, Congressman Cuellar was too. I think I heard he was a little busy lately.
Okay. Yes.
Cuellar, not McCaul.
Right.
But McCall's like, I absolutely love this. And Nikki Haley was like, why do we not have this in every school? I said, and with veterans that are returning over, that are trained, they don't want to be Jerry Jones or Mark Cuban. They don't want to come over here and I'm going to start them. They want to go where they're appreciated.
Right.
They've been trained by the best in the government.
Sure.
And so whether they're Navy SEALs or they're Army Ranger, whatever, they have canine experience.
And some of them
Why are we not giving them a job as an SRO and putting them in every school?
Right. So true.
Yeah.
Right.
That's its own silo of program to accomplish, I would imagine, for you as well. Wow.
But yes, to your point, I think Texas is very rich in philanthropy that makes a big difference.
I think Texans like to have fun
Yes,
as
they
well,
do.
right? That's why your podcast is fun and fundraising.
Yeah, is because, events are, to be fun. And the thing is, like 60%, even though they're all Texas nonprofits, 60% of the listeners are not from Texas.
So how did you decide to start your podcast, Fun and Fundraising?
During one of our many winter freezes, I was kind of like, the last time I holed down and I didn't do something that was, I don't want to say life-changing, but like, how can I just propel myself forward and not think about this ever again? And I just decided during one of the freezes, I was going to start this podcast. So literally, it was like February 10th. I got my first 3 recordings like 4 days after the power came on. No, 2023. So a year and a half-ish ago. And it just, it took off. And I was amazed at how many people said yes.
Yeah.
Because it's not people don't think, well, how do you put on a good gala? That's not really on anyone's radar of what to do. But as, we have with our magazine, we have an issue coming out where there's going to be, 50 something nonprofits that raise over $100 million for various causes around the state.
Texas causes.
Texas causes.
On that list.
Yeah, no kidding, right?
So-
We need a profile.
But it just, every single one of them was fun in their own way. And I always say that any good event has to have 3 components. It's a 3-legged stool. There is wow, there is fun, and there is heart. And if you've got those 3 things, you've got the necessary ingredients. You just need to, you need to galvanize them and take them and propel them in a way that makes sense for you or your organization or your audience or whomever it is. So that it becomes that must-attend thing and I must be a part of cause that everyone wants to be a part of. And and what's interesting is that it's hard for galas to stay on top. Like the biggest galas 15 years ago when I started doing this are not necessarily today. And there's a bunch of new, bigger ones. And each city's a little different.
The opera ball, the ballet ball, the museum ball.
Always fun, always perfect.
You would have more people, it seems, invested in that than you would the G7 summit. I mean, or...
Good point.
Yeah, I mean...
Good point.
And you have just as many CEOs there.
That's right.
That, I used to always say, if the Taliban wants to come do something to set us off, they either need to land their C4 in the middle...
Let's not give any idea.
Well,
Right,
but I've said this
yeah.
so many times, but in the middle of Caulfield, where there's 120,000 people, or, to one of these galas, at the Museum of Natural Science, where there's 150 oil CEOs there.
That's right.
And,
Yeah.
when Wimberley, when all the floodings came, we got a call from Governor Abbott's office saying, please, we need you. There's houses that have been knocked off. And I said, I'm not a dog trainer. I'm the Match.com or the car.
Carvana.
The Carvana.
That's a good.
Yeah, so
I love the
anyway.
analogy.
Yes. So
The Carvana of Canines. That's a hashtag.
So if you said, look, I really want, this is, my niece is at Hockey Day and I want to go up 3 times a week and I want to be able to search with a dog and I'm going to donate this to here. There's so much that goes into it. And what people don't understand.
I'm sure.
It's a balloon net.
Right.
I still own all those dogs. So people say, well, you were a dog lover. Yeah, I own 400 dogs.
Isn't that something?
I don't touch them. They don't live with me. I probably never met them.
Yeah, but you're responsible for the good work
But
they do.
for them, Leah Coca gave me this advice. When you give somebody something up front and you don't know them, it's not fair to them because they don't know how much skin you have in the game. So when you say, hey, you're supposed to report back to me at No, you haven't built the culture yet.
Right. Sure.
And he said, so you need to own those, just like we do if there was a Chrysler dealership in Austin.
Yeah.
We floor plan them.
With this?
Because they're not writing a check
Right.
for every
Right.
car.
Yeah.
It's that depreciation.
Yeah.
It's a revolving.
Okay. That makes sense.
And I said, okay, I never want the dog back. I want it to retire. They don't even need to know the fact that, in other words, I still own the dog. But if I said, you have to turn in the stats, you have to tell me what you feed. What kind of flea medicine do you give?
Yeah.
So I can go to these companies and say, do you know the people that have taken $25 million in Baytown off the street that they need heart cart? Oh, and a
Right.
vet would say, oh my gosh, let me help. I mean, for $500 a year. And I said, yes, and we will keep promoting you. So they're obligated to turn in their, whatever their disciplines. We have some that are bomb dogs, explosion dogs, gun dogs, LED batteries.
Really?
Remember Jared?
Sure.
From
Oh, yeah.
one of our dogs got in and he had it all on a jump drive. And we set them in there and they smelled titanium batteries.
Wow.
Really?
It's more like CSI K9 too.
It sure is.
Wow.
Well, you brought up something, Kristi, when you were saying that response that I'm fascinated by. So when you said retire, so like what happens to the canines? Oh, so they live with them.
Oh, good.
And I think that's
Oh.
a really important thing because I'm a huge animal lover.
Yeah.
We all
Before
are.
I met Kristi, I was actually getting ready to start my own animal nonprofit because, you know, I was in that space too of I had been in jewelry and high fashion and luxury and I was helping promote magazines. I was doing articles. It was wonderful. I had a great time. But during COVID, I think we all kind of had like a retrospective look at our life and said, what am I doing with my time, my energy,
Yes.
and how does it add value? And for me, I realized that I wanted to go to sleep at the end of the day and feeling like I had made a difference. So for me, that was animals.
Very worthy.
The thing to me that makes such an impact is I'm so highly, like I haven't, Winslow's on my lap now, so emotionally bonded and invested. And a lot of these officers who, work the beat and have their dogs 9, 10, 11 years in a career, you have to think that if something, let's say something happens to a handler and he's forced to medically retire because of an injury, but his working canine is 7 years old.
Yeah.
His working canine might actually have another 2-3 years of work left in him. But that dog has now bonded this handler. If the department granted that dog to the handler, likely they'd retire the handler and force the dog to be bonded and work with a new handler.
Okay.
Because
Which is
Kristi,
possible. We take every situation.
Yeah.
but because Kristi owns the dog, we ultimately get to make that determination
Okay.
and say, you know what, Robbie, you're retiring. This dog, Robbie has sacrificed and been with you the whole length of the career.
Right.
You love each other. He's protected you. And we're going to honor him and his career and retire him with you and just get the next handler and canine. And for me, being somebody that's highly invested in the animal, that makes a huge difference.
Yeah.
Like I'd much rather donate to K9s4cops knowing that that's
right.
repayment that they get for their sacrifice.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Well, that's social versus transactional. I mean, you make it a social, you make it a social thing because there is that bond.
K9s4kids protects 2.5 million kids in school
Wow.
every day. And when those dogs go in, if let's say a certain class, the third graders raised the most money or they did the best at the fall fair, whatever it is they decide in that school, or they've now implemented a beauty school, like for the upperclassmen at this grade school.
All right.
But whoever reaches their goal of whatever it is inside school, they can come in and wash Lucy. And,
love that.
that's their whole thing. But then,
Great.
Lucy, we need her right back to go sniff for bombs. Okay, and then bring her back here.
Wow.
And, and they maybe bring another one over.
Yeah.
Maybe that's Ruby. But these are dogs they can level. They have their picture in the school yearbook.
I love that.
And I had a psychiatrist for a school tell me the best thing about this particular dog. She said, we work at our school in Missouri County, very close with the the youth home with the foster students.
Yes, right.
She said, so it's, let's say you're 6 kids. They will split up and try to keep the girls in a home and the boys, together. But now they're already mad at the new family, which all they're doing is volunteering.
Yeah.
But you've separated me from my twin brother.
Right.
I mean, this is all I know. And my mom is in jail. I don't know my daddy. And so the counselor, all their meetings are videotaped. So the counselor will say, oh my gosh, look, I know we're going to check in. This is our every other week check in. Is everything going okay? Do you feel good? Could you do me a huge favor? I've got to go get some stuff that's coming in off the fax machine. If you could just take Einstein and brush him for me. He's supposed to be hanging up here with me, and I just don't have time to brush him. By the time, and that dog is laying over, he feels they have a friend.
Yeah.
So when the counselor sits back down and says, is there anything at your home or anywhere that anybody's being what you feel inappropriate or you don't feel good about? She said, I promise you 95% of the time they won't tell because they don't want to split up farther, thinking their mom or their imaginary dad is going to show up.
Right.
Oh, sure.
But she says they will absolutely feel that he's there to protect them.
Yeah.
And they will sing like a bird.
Great. Whatever it takes.
Those canines can diffuse almost any situation.
Yeah. I think all dogs, especially highly trained ones, that's the magic of, I think they're a lot smarter than we are in many instances, for sure.
And I don't understand why. And it's like, I looked at McCaul and I said, look, you can take all the credit. I don't care. You can say you invented this. I don't care. At this point, I don't care. Just how do we get more funding?
Any.
Right.
Any.
And, yeah.
Sorry. Any.
Are there government programs that would be a fit for that as well? And I'm sure that you've talked to lots of them. Yeah.
But everything in the government is
process. Right. So it'd be great if one of the billionaires we were talking about earlier would adopt this cause.
What were we talking about earlier?
There's so we did a podcast on this not too long ago, but it's like we're not short on ideas, we're not short on inspiration, we're not short on drive. We're just short on money. Yeah. At the end of the day, it's all about knowing the right people and finding somebody that can hook their carriage up to your cause and say, you know what, this makes a difference, and I need the tax write-off.
Right. Yeah.
That's it.
Sure. Yeah.
And I think it's becoming more like fun and fundraising. It's like having more of those conversations with people who are just trying to spread the message, give back, who've been blessed in their life and don't take that blessing for granted.
Right.
Say, how can I do something to make a difference because I have been fortunate?
Yeah.
So.
Amen. I love it.